if you're a tech founder, then you need to find someone that has built a sales team. Push yourself to find the right person. Don't just find someone that isn't asking for a lot of cash or doesn't have the experience. Go and find the person that has the experience, but also really importantly, is the right fit for your business. And I think that's a really important piece as well. Get someone that you can get on with, someone you're going to want to go have beers with. I know you're good at that, Ricky, because I keep seeing on LinkedIn that you're always having beers with people that you love working with, right? So, that's a really, really key bit.
Wow. Hey, Richard, welcome to the show. Great to have you here, man.
Thank you, Ricky, Sean. Great to be with you.
Hey, mate, take us through your journey. Tell us as to how you got into the tech industry to begin with.
Yes. So my original goal was to be a rock star, which is probably not uncommon for many people. And when that didn't work out, I realized I needed to get a proper job. And I call it the Happy Trip Up Club because I saw this advert saying, would you like to earn X by X? And it was for a sales job. And no one had ever said to me, hey, Richard, we think you'd be a great sales professional. I had snuck into the Oxford Career Service because I grew up in Oxford in the UK. And they said, Richard, having gone through lots of testing, they said, Richard, we think you'd be great in the world of market research. I was like, what is that? Why? And actually, we may talk about this a bit later, but a big thing for me is that no one recommends sales to anyone. So I got into sales. I was selling IT training back in the day. And then I made my way to a company called Skillsoft, who at the time was the world's largest e-learning provider. And that's where my love of software sales took off.
I'm keen to definitely talk a bit about that. It's come up as a bit of a recurring theme as we've done podcasts and how sales isn't actually looked at the same way as some other roles, but it's super important and it's a complex beast. It's not as easy as you can just put a kid in there and now you're a salesperson. But going back to your earlier days, what led you then to found Durham Lane?
Yeah, so I had a really great corporate career. I'd fallen into this world of sales, loved it, found that I seemed to be pretty good at it and got into sales leadership, etc. I then, and this won't mean much to anyone outside of the UK, but I'd moved from Zone 2 London, so right in the middle of London, up to the northeast of England, which is 300 miles away, which for us in the UK, that's a long trip. And I'd gone up there for family reasons. And I was still with Skillsoft at the time. Whenever I was in my town on business, I was in my home office. And whenever I was out seeing customers, I was never in my region. So I thought if I'm going to bring up a family, I want to put some roots down. So I gave them a year's notice, set up my own business, decided that I think I'll get a customer in 6 months. If I haven't got anyone in a year, then no worries. I've just had some fun. I'll go and get another job. And within 10 days, I had my first customer. And then a year and a half into that, having got really busy, it's where I created Selling at High Level as our methodology, which we still use today. I was delivering a sales training course and met this guy called Lee Durham, who was peppering me with real corporate-like sales questions. And I'd been in the sort of SME world, SMB world for a year and a half. And we just got chatting. We actually originally started talking about what if we could create a sales CRM system designed by salespeople for salespeople. That was our original sort of click. And then realized that neither of us were technical and it was a pretty crowded market space already. So we looked at our two companies and thought, if you put them together, then something interesting could happen. And that was 12 and a half years ago.
Inspiring. Hey, Richard, any business normally goes through an S-curve and the magical J-curve never really happens unless you look back over time, right? So you mentioned that you got your first customer in 10 days ahead of your own schedule. But what were some of the challenges you experienced after getting that first or perhaps 5 or 10? Because not often founders share that insight. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, of course, Ricky. I think my first consultancy was that classic. So yeah, the irony is not lost on me. I came out of the world's largest e-learning company where I'd been selling global e-learning online solutions to some of the world's largest companies. I set up my own consulting, training, coaching business, and I got my first customer on day 10, which was amazing. And I wrote Selling at High Level, our methodology. And guess what? I started training it. And the thing that I never did was I've still not written the book. I've never created the online content because I just got too busy. So I got busy being busy doing the stuff. And I think that is probably as a founder, the biggest challenge. And then it is in Durham Lane. So 2 years on from setting up NW Associates, Durham Lane, we started and that's sort of continued and got better at it. But I think that real initial challenge is you get really busy doing the do. And actually sometimes I think in those early days, if I'd step back and thought, I've got my first couple of customers, that's great, but I'm going to take this time. I was mentoring a guy not so long ago, and I said to him, look, this was my mistake. I got busy being really busy. I enjoyed it. I felt good. I was earning money. My little business was starting to go, but I was in the day to day and I wasn't thinking about the 3-year, 5-year plan. And I still haven't done a lot of that stuff. So still need to learn some lessons, but we're getting better.
You shared a few things there, Richard. I guess if you had your time over again, what would you do differently?
I don't regret anywhere we're at. I think if I had my time again, I would have created. So selling at a high level came out of my desire to help salespeople in particularly SMB companies to have some structure, some process, and some frameworks to help them actually do the job that no one trains you to do. If you can talk at an interview and you can get on with the person interviewing you, you can get a job in sales. And that's not really changed that much. But actually what I managed in those early days is to put a framework and create some really intuitive, easy tools that make sense. And anybody really, whether you're in sales or outside of it, could use it to have better business conversations. And really, if I think of the blue chip clients we've worked with over the last 12, 14 years, I could be making license fees on a Magic 35 tool, for example, that is available on Salesforce. Why haven't I tech enabled my business? And that's probably the biggest thing. If I could do it again, I would have dedicated that time early on to create something which short term would have meant I wouldn't have earned any money, but longer term would have meant that I could have scaled and earned money while I slept, for example.
And that's huge, right? Obviously, in the world we're living in now, Rich, we come across a bunch of early stage founders. We're going through the journey ourselves. It's not easy to look at long-term picture whilst you're still running day-to-day stuff. Your bank balance is declining on daily basis. I guess the question I'm leading to is that who were your soundboard back then? What can be quite a lonely journey. You obviously had your business partner, but was there anyone else that you were looking for mentorship or guidance?
So I think maybe that's really changed of late. And there are lots of networks and lots of places you can go to get support. I think that's different from 12, 14 years ago. Maybe. I think it is. So it's so important to have sounding boards of others. And whether that's because you're backed by a VC or you've got some funding or you've been on a scale-up program or startup program, you've got people there that are peer-to-peer with you. You've got people with experience that are guiding. I work in a couple of coaching and mentoring forums. So I think that's really developed and it's really essential. I think back then we were so busy just getting set up and doing our thing that actually the mentors I did have were my customers in lots of ways. And I've always been always had those sort of antennae for finding people that I think can help and can soundboard stuff off, but there wasn't the same rigor. And one thing we have done, which I think I owe to Lee really, is we've always been good at finding people that come and join us as non-execs or come and join us as a chair. I think early days of Durham Lane, we've always tried to treat our business like a corporate, like a proper company. And we've always had a board. We've always had non-execs. We've always had a chairperson. That's been good. But I think the infrastructure and the sort of web and network of mentoring and coaching and support is in a different place compared to where it was when we set up.
I'd agree with that, mate. It is now 14 years ago, 10 years ago, right? I think things like LinkedIn and other things have made a lot of that stuff more readily available. I think people more focused on building communities now than they were 10 to 12 years ago. Yeah. It was really just get your business built and put your head down, bum up and off you go.
It was. And I think that's not to say there wasn't anything there, because I think that there are some good networks in the Northeast and there always have been, but actually really organizations and people that are there to help founders to become successful. There's a big wide choice now, I think, and you don't have to look too hard to find it.
Richard, shifting gears a little bit, you obviously had the privilege to work with a whole bunch of different crowd over the years, including some global giants. Has there been a theme that you've seen across all these businesses, the common challenges they face in their sales arm of the business? And I guess what is it that you and the team at Durham Lane are doing in order to assist them and take them forward to the next level?
Yeah, you probably won't be surprised to hear me say that it's consistent levels of well-qualified pipeline when consulting with companies. I think the number one challenge is lack of pipeline. And some interesting things happen with pipeline creation. It's really, I don't really find many salespeople who go into sales because they want to make cold calls or they want to stay in SDR. Most people want to be at that account exec level or a customer success person, as you'd call them now, or an account manager, probably as they were back in my day, or BDM. And the challenge therefore is that you have inconsistent effort and pipeline creation. And a couple of things happen there. And I've seen this in some of the work that we've done over the years, that you will have organizations that don't naturally have a demand team. Numbers are a bit down or they haven't got as much pipeline. So manager, director comes out, starts hitting people over the head. You've got to do more. You've got to do more. Doing stuff creates activity, and that activity tends to create opportunity. Then they get busy doing the thing they like doing, which is talking to people that maybe are interested. And the thing they immediately stop doing is the prospecting. So we've always tried to make it our business of keeping the wheel of business development turning. We're a white labeled sales and marketing outfit that can be plugged into your business and that demand for you, meaning that we have a responsibility really to create that consistent level. And then when you put it alongside our qualification tool, Magic 35, then hopefully they're well qualified ops that the BDMs like to then jump onto and convert into revenue.
Richard, just for the listeners who are in the early phase of their SaaS growth, can you maybe touch on what Magic 35 is? Where did the inspiration of that come from? And obviously having had the pleasure of working with you and the team and the canvas that we work on and the idea behind it and the methodology that goes in. Can you just share some of the high level tips for anyone listening out there?
Yeah, sure. And I'd be we can put a note to the show if people want to get access to Magic 35. I'm really happy just to make that available. As I said earlier, you can't buy it online, so I'll just give it to you for free. It's a PDF, Magic 35 is, if you know of BANT, qualification, budget, authority, need, timescales, it's pretty common. Then Magic 35 is our version. It's got 7 criteria. It's things to think about when the potential sales conversation comes up. Then we train all of our people to then start questioning along 7 criteria of budget, define need, compelling event, timescales, decision maker, etc. What that enables the individual to do is just gives them a framework to help them not really have to think about the question they're going to ask next. Because if you're thinking about what do I say next, then what you're not doing is listening to the person that's speaking to you. And that's one of the biggest challenges in sales, is that you're so busy thinking, what do I do next? What do I say next? Where do I need to go? That actually you're not doing the most important thing in my mind, which is being interested to be interesting. It's business fit and business value. This is why I'm calling you. This is why I think you should be interested. This is the value I think we can deliver to you above and beyond what we would ever charge you. If you're not interested in that, then it's not my problem. It's a bit of a mindset. And then mantra 3 is be interested to be interesting. What I've found through my career is the more interested you become in other people, amazingly, you become of more interest to them. And selling at a high level, which is our methodology, is really based around consultative, question-based selling, and probably most similar to Challenger in concept. Funny story, when I put selling at a high level together, and then there was all this noise about this thing called Challenger Sale and the Challenger book that had come out, and I thought, oh my God, this sounds amazing. So I bought it and read it cover to cover in about a day and thought, that's just like selling at a high level. So selling at a high level is a really simplified version of Challenger. You could give it to someone who's like day one in sales. It makes sense in terms of the 4 or 5 stages. And then you've got tools like Magic 35, which help you have conversations that are meaningful and with purpose. And again, tries to take some of the guesswork out of how do I get this into a conversation that is meaningful and is going to go somewhere.
I love that. Like, you systemize this stuff. I know you didn't turn it into software and sell it to everyone in the world, but for your business, early on, you built out the systems of how you're going to run your business and what differentiates you and makes it work. And then you've used that and iterated. And other people have written books and stuff on similar concepts to what you've done. But I did love your they'll listen to what people are saying. You could be giving up tips for podcasts. So I reckon the first couple I did, you're always thinking about what the next question was, right? So you're just sitting there like a stunned mullet going, question, I've got it, it's in my head, I'm ready. We've done a few now, so it's less about thinking about a question in your head, more about just having a chat with someone. And the best salespeople are the ones that can hold a conversation, right? They can have a conversation and lead it towards the bitch that they want.
Sure, that's 100%. And I think probably the best thing that I've created out of selling at a high level is the mantras. The mantras and Magic 35 are the two things. Magic 35, why? Because it gives people that are either brand new or seriously experienced sales execs, every level, it gives them a framework that makes sure they spend their time where they can be most successful. So that's one. With the mantras, they're all about your mindset. And I still remember sitting in London. I'm going to give you my age now, but I was sitting in London. I hadn't become a rock star. I was in my first proper sales job in 1996. And I still remember my first calls. I still remember that feeling of, oh my God, what do I say next? How does it go? And I was lucky because I just was interested. And I've always thought what an honor it is in the world of sales to be paid and to make your living by being interested in other people and just being inquisitive. I just think I still to this day find that just extraordinary that we make, I probably made more money than I ever would have made being a rock star, let's face it, through a successful career. But it's just about being inquisitive and trying to help people. And I just think that's so super cool. And I've felt that ever since I landed that first job, got my bum in a seat and thought, I get this. I really get this. I had that feeling. It was really cool.
That's a really cool way to put it, right? Helping them makes you better. Richard, I was talking to a young bloke the other day. He was 20, getting his first sales job, super excited, right? Getting into tech, his first sales job. First thing he asked me is that, what should I do? Who should I go watch? Where do I go get my tips and framework? And my head started racing because, going back to your point, everything's globalized. There is so much content out there. You could listen to stuff that could go for hours, days, and probably years. So what advice would you have given to that 20-year-old going into their first role in 2023 when so much is about to change, or so much has changed in the last 6 to 12 months in particular? Where does one even begin?
Great question, and something we spend a lot of time thinking about at Durham Lane, because we're essentially a white labeled SDR services that I mentioned. So we're getting people often at the beginning of their sales careers. I still think one of the best places to go, or the best things to do, is you need to make your first 100 calls. So actually, yes, go and read some stuff. You should always be reading. You should always be inquisitive. LinkedIn, what a resource. When I was a kid learning the guitar, self-taught, imagine if I'd had the internet. I can now go to guitar tabs and I can and there's any song I ever want to learn is pretty much available to me. It's the same in the world of business and in the world of skills and development and education. You can really find whatever you need if you look hard enough. So I think that inquisitiveness is really important, but you cannot beat doing it. And one of the things that I think people struggle with these days is there's so much information out there that it's really easy to say, but I'm not quite ready. My youngest is 12. He's really into his BMXing and mountain biking and stuff. And he showed me this video of this young dude who did this amazing 4-minute sequence, and it looks perfect. And I was standing there thinking, how does he even do that? And then they showed a few bloopers of him crashing and falling and whatever. And you realize that probably took 3 or 4 days to make. But you don't see that. I think the challenge we have as a kid, you don't see that now. You see perfection. And this is a big challenge in everything we do. Is Instagram is all about perfection. Videos, and you see these 2-minute clips of perfection. Life isn't perfection. You need to make your first 100 calls. You need to speak to people. You need to understand how to have a conversation. You need to be, as I said before, you need to understand that if you're only thinking about your questions, you're not listening to the answer. You need to get things wrong, trial and error. So that would be my advice, would be, yes, go and learn, but actually draw a line in the sand. At that point, you need to go off and start doing it. And I think kids of today find it a real struggle.
See, Richard, if all we did was prepare and go off stuff and not listen, we wouldn't get gold like that. And I think that's a really good point. Everything mostly nowadays, in podcasts, everything you listen to, it's all perfection, right? It's all been edited, it's all been scratched, it's all been made clean. But that's not life. In business, whether it be sales or business, right? You're going to make mistakes. The mistakes are going to lead you to be better at what you do. And if you make no mistakes at what you're doing, you're not trying hard enough. You're not pushing yourself. You're staying within a comfort limit of you understanding you how to control. When I started, I did cold calling. It was the first thing I ever did. I was 17 years old. And the first 100, I can probably still remember most of the first 100 calls I made because they gave everyone a script. You walked in the room, here is your script. Here is the numbers you call today. You ring each one, you say what's on that script. And I think I made 100 phone calls and not a single person was on the phone for more than 30 seconds. I started my script and they were like, fuck you, hang up. And so I stopped using it and I just started talking to people. That's it. I'd be like, hey, how are you? How's your day been? Look, I'm calling. I'm sorry to annoy you. Yeah, have actual conversations with people. And suddenly I was having success. And like I said, we're old. So there was no books or LinkedIn or things to read or learn back time. I just learned by going, people are more receptive to have conversations. But you make mistakes and those mistakes help you grow into building something. I think it's good advice to people. Go have a go and see. And when you do that, then you actually have a chance to grow. Because you can't grow without a mistake. It's impossible.
100%. The great thing with the world we're in now is that there is technology that can help you practice in a fail-safe environment. We've got some tools that we use. We can get to readiness. We can have people do 100 calls without ever needing to speak to a customer or to fail in front of a customer on behalf of our customer. We can do that. There's a coaching, immersive environment where people are supported. There's a safety blanket, but it's still got the edge. And that's a real benefit of technology, I think, is being able to give people the ability to experiment, to practice, to coach and support each other without necessarily going out and doing a crappy call. But you still got to do it. And because the other thing is we never really know how anyone's going to answer. So until you start making it happen, then you're not going to hear some of those answers anyhow, right? So yeah, really important to just give it a go.
Absolutely. And there is no perfection, right? Even as you go through the journey. But what we often find that, Richard, most businesses are trying to put their SDRs, BDRs on a conveyor belt. And to Sean's point, here's a script, read it, don't go off tracks, don't be yourself. That's probably something that we never kind of believed in. We were very much, this is your guideline. Go off script. Don't just go talking about weather and sports all day long, but these are the main bullet points that you must hit. How do you, again, going back to the coaching piece, so someone who has been doing it and has done it okay for about 6 months and they want to take the next leap in their career, what advice do you give that to that person then? What should they do dramatically different to progress to the next stage?
Yeah, so we are real fans in blueprints and canvases rather than scripts. So we would never give anyone a script to use. We'd rather say, look, here's a framework. You've got to get your personality in there. And here are some of the key factors. These are some of the gotchas that might exist for you. So we're going to have some help there. But really, it's about being yourself within this framework. I think it's really interesting in terms of where does someone go next? Because I do think, why does being an SDR have to only be something you do for, you said 6 months, Ricky, and I think you're right. It's 6. I didn't want to do it for more than 6 months. And all those years ago, I thought, I want to be on the sales floor. I want to be doing this. And so, we're trying to reinvent that at the moment and try in our business, trying to reinvent what being a SDR means, because we believe that it will be possible to have people do it for a longer time. It does provide a good talent pool, though, for many organizations. So you have your SDR team, and then that leads to your AE team. I think a couple of things to help people get that progression is the ability of you to question, the ability of you to solution when you're speaking to someone, to become that trusted advisor figure quickly. Definitely possible and definitely something that people can do. And what I say to every Durham Laner is, you're learning skills with us that will last you a lifetime. I've worked with people that have been hired, big ticket sales hires that we brought across from the competitor back in my corporate day. They'd been farming a big account for years, top guy, brought into our business and had no idea how to prospect. So you got to keep it going. Those skills will be with you, both in your personal life, but also in certainly your business life. And they will never let you down if you remember how to do all the things that we've been talking about. So fundamentally important, yet so few people spend time on it once they've moved out of the world of
Another really good point, right? Something that we often are coming across. One of the other advice that most of the founders are seeking is that who should I hire first? What should my first sales team look like? What is the team composition should be? How many SDRs, BDR, all the different things that often we speak of, Richard. But can you share some tips as to how do you go assembling your first ever sales team? What should be the makeup? How many heads? And then to your point, like how many demand creators or generators versus closers? Any tips on that, please?
Yeah. You need demand. You need that consistent flow. You might have a business where you have people doing full sales cycle. You might have the SDR AE type business. So that depends. We work with a number of customers where we maybe have one person to 2 or to 3 BDs that are working there. I think that first hire is really important. So if you're a tech founder, I guess it depends what your background, doesn't it? If you're a commercial tech founder rather than a techie tech founder, then you're probably doing the sales yourself. And so you're going to need to find someone or some people that can do some of the stuff that you can really map out and formalize so that you can then do less of that, do more of the real meaningful deal winning type activity. And then you go in to backfill yourself in that deal place. That's one way. If you're a techie tech founder, I would say find someone that has built a sales team, push yourself to find the right person. Don't just find someone that isn't asking for a lot of cash or doesn't have the experience. Go and find the person that has the experience, but also really importantly, is the right fit for your business. And I think that's a really important piece as well. Get someone that you can get on with, someone you're going to want to go have beers with. I know you're good at that, Ricky, because I keep seeing on LinkedIn that you're always having beers with people that you love working with, right? So
I think that's part of our ethos, right? Go have beers with people we like.
yeah, well,
that's the whole new business model that we brought out.
It comes back to my point, Sean, about, I think we've lost Ricky. It comes back to my point around have fun in what you do and get to know people and enjoy being in their company, and business will happen.
We've talked a lot today about personality and people, right? In pretty much everything we've spoken about, we've been mentioning inject your personality, have conversations. The question we ask everyone in this podcast has been, what do you see in the future coming out, impacting sales and sales methodology and marketing, and generally AI gets brought up. So I'm interested to see what you think. Like, where do you see trends happening in the future?
Yeah, it's a really fascinating area, Sean. We ran our first hackathon at the end of August. So we had a Durham Lane hackathon, and the whole point around this, it was only a 2-hour thing. Staff, 6 teams, 2 hours to come up with ways that we could harness generative AI to support our customers more effectively and make sure that our people have a better time doing their job. Got some great ideas, got some great feedback we'll put into action. I just think that it's insane, the speed of change. I believe that we can use technology to superpower what we do, but I still think the human is at the center. Some amazing things are just on the periphery. I don't know if you've been using many of the note takers. Some of those note taking apps are pretty cool. I was then starting to think, what if you had a note taker app that was taking Magic 35 sentiment all the time and created your Magic 35 automatically with probably stuff that you haven't heard, which has been said or not said by that potential prospect. So I think that's a real enabler to accelerate the service we provide to our customers and to help us augment the value. I think voice is going to be really interesting. Voice AI. We're probably already having conversations with computers, not even knowing about it. So I think still got some way to go, but that'll be really interesting. And imagine if our sales teams only actually spoke to people that were really interested.
Mate, I looked at tech the other day that does exactly that.
Yeah.
And look, we're doing it right now in this podcast. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm still asleep. This is just an AI version of me talking to you.
It's not perfect. Yeah, there's still some glitches in it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it hasn't got to New Zealand yet. It's too far away. I can get all the Kiwi jokes in right now because Ricky's not here. Yeah. I sit alongside you, Richard. I think sales enablement or enablement for all departments is where I see the real power of AI, right? Per se, I think it can empower someone from being able to do, 1 call per hour and close to 4 calls per hour and close, because a huge amount of the other work is driven for them so that they're more accurate, more able to have that conversation. When they call you, it's not, hi, Richard, how are you? I believe you're a CEO or chief commercial officer here, it'll be, hey, how are you? Hey, I see you were at the footy last weekend. I was also there and prompted me to give you a call. It empowers conversation faster, right? Instead of having to fish for how the conversation goes, you're going to be armed with everything you need to hold a conversation with someone about their interests and then slowly move it down the path you want. And I think that's what I find exciting about some of the things I'm seeing in those spaces. But
Hey, can you hear me now?
and I think Ricky is still coming back, but I don't know. But one of the things that I think it's going to do is also more tightly align sales and marketing. Towards the end, you get to throw all the really tricky questions, people, AI, and then marketing and sales, right? How do you see that relationship evolving as these trends start to appear? Because it's, some people it's a love-hate relationship. Some people it's a love relationship.
Yeah, I wonder whether there won't be sales and marketing. There will just be RevOps team. We've always joked, we've always said marketing's done a much better job of selling itself than sales. Back to my earlier comment around no one says, hey, you should get into sales, but it's all part of the same path and it should all be the same teams. I believe that, and we're seeing this, we've really successfully connected the world of MQL and SQL. And so I describe Durham Lane as being the sort of middleware that connects the two slightly separate worlds at the moment. There's a bit of a no man's land that sits between marketing and sales, and both blame each other for everything. I think there's a real opportunity for it just to come into one, and you have people with different expertise and different areas of engagement, but it's all one business. It's under RevOps. That'd be my view.
I think the successful SaaS companies are those where there's healthy tension between sales and marketing in that they challenge each other, but they're effectively an aligned unit. And that alignment is what allows the company to scale, because it's not a blame game pushing back and forward down the line. It's two groups working in tandem to scale the ability to go to market to reach new heights. And we ran it for many years with two really closely aligned executives. And in most of the companies we're talking to, that's the idea. You get closely aligned people who can have a really strong relationship and some healthy tension, but drive to achieve the same result.
The next iteration of that, Sean, you are back. The next iteration of that is you've got your sales, you've got your marketing, you've got customer success. It's all under RevOps. Everyone driving in the same direction. That would be where I think it's headed.
That just leads to the leader of that team, is he is he or she a salesperson, a marketing person, or a customer success person?
They've got to be all of it, haven't they? Because they need to be commercially aware. They need to understand about brand and positioning of their company, and they need to have the customer at the center of everything they think about. Actually, if you're a customer-centric type individual organization, you don't have to be an expert in everything. It's one of those key challenges is that someone thinks, I need to know everything about everything if I'm going to lead this function. But if you can facilitate the direction of travel and put the customer in the middle of everything, I think you can make it work.
I was just trying to get you to say something spicy, like it should be a salesperson because everything else sucks, but didn't get there. Unfortunately, you're too sharp.
That's what he's been thinking about. Hey, Richard, coming back to you. So what about the future of Durham Lane? What are you excited about? What's coming out next for you?
Yeah, so really, we've been talking about technology, Ricky. I've been inspired by this conversation actually, because one thing we're talking about internally is how do we harness technology to make sure that our people, call them SDRs, are having the best fun possible doing the job that they do. What does that mean? Do we want them calling 100 people and speaking to maybe one answer phone every day? No. Do we want them running cadences, doing A/B testing, being a bit like a specialist with, looking at their dashboards and understanding their data and understanding why their customers should be interested, and then getting people that are interested coming to them so then they can have conversations which are meaningful and full of purpose. We're doing a lot on that at the moment. Got some really exciting things coming through. We're expanding all the time, excited about new markets. And as we've gone into this sort of enterprise world, then we're following customers into not just Europe, got some great North American work going, which we're running, and would love to come into APAC more formally as well. So I think for us, there needs to be that footprint. I think that's a really important thing. If we're going to serve global customers globally, then rather than it all be UK based, we need to have a global footprint. So I think there's tech on one side helping us to augment what we do and supercharge how we deliver what we do for our customers and for our people, and then get that really working. And then we expand the base out and go global.
Sounds exciting. Richard, we're going to move to the quick fire round now. This is where the fun part and the hard part too, right? You can't get any of these wrong. We're judging you by your answers. Here goes nothing. First one, favorite sports team?
Favorite sports team is going to have to be Newcastle United. I'm an adopted Geordie. I'm going with Newcastle United. Riding high, first Champions League game coming up for a long time. And not without controversy, but that would be my team.
Exciting.
Favorite music genre? Yeah, Ricky's making some assumptions because he said he wanted to be a rock star.
He is definitely. Yeah. Favorite genre would be the blues, particularly modern blues, but of BB King's my idol. Yeah.
So when you were going to be a rock star, is that the path you wanted to go down, or were you thinking more U2?
I was more sort of Radiohead, Oasis, that sort of era. So Britpop,
nice.
Britpop. Throw a bit of Pink Floyd in there and a bluesy guitar solo, then that's what you have.
Yeah, nice. I like it. And then favorite movie?
I'm going with the Bourne trilogy.
That's three movies.
All right. So I'll go with the Bourne Identity, which is the first one. But I'm in love with Jason Bourne. He's my man crush.
Cool. If we ever get to meet him, I know who I'm going to introduce him to then. And I'm like, I'm assuming you mean actually Jason Bourne and not Matt Damon. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And then, okay, what about, I know you've traveled a fair bit, right? So where's your favorite place to visit, or where's somewhere you really want to go to that you haven't been yet?
Okay. We've holidayed for the last X number of years with some friends of ours, and we go to Costa Brava. So just north of Barcelona in Spain. And it's more about just who I'm with and the chilled out atmosphere and enjoying some downtime. So that's a special place for me. When I have a meaningful event with business, and we're totally self-funded, have been all the way through Durham Lane to this point, fly fishing in Montana. That will be my reward to myself, is a fly fishing in Montana holiday. That's my plan.
Very cool.
Nice.
I'm not going to go until it happens.
Yeah. So I'm just going to be looking for the LinkedIn photos of you in Montana, and then I'll be like, hey, something massive's happened. Podcast number 2.
That's it. Yeah.
All right, Ricky, go on. Do the last one.
Mate, this is the hard one. This is where it all boils down to, right? This is what the podcast was made for, Richard. So don't get this one wrong. Peanut butter. How do you like yours? Crunchy or smooth? There's only one right answer.
There is only one right answer.
Well, so my answer to this question is Marmite's.
Which is different.
I'm not really a fan of, I'm not really a fan of peanut butter. But if I was forced,
yes. Ooh,
you're the right answer eventually.
Is that the right answer? Okay,
that is 100% the right answer. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank God for that.
Hey, Richard, this has been fun. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing all your tips, mate. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it. And great chatting with you guys. Thank you for having me.